Good afternoon, everybody. Today, as we are in a restrictions period of time and we can't meet together, I take the opportunity to speak to you about let go. What is the letting go during a yin class? So, most of the time I'm asking you to just let go, but as we are running out of time during a yin class, of 1 hour, I haven't any opportunity to speak deeply about what is letting go. So this is my purpose today. Mm, just after finding your comfortable position while sitting, cross-legged, um, straight straighten your spine, respecting the natural curve, of course, and bringing your shoulder down and allowing your face to relax and your jaws and lips soften. Then you can close your eyes and you can start to center yourself. What is centering? It is a commitment to yourself, in fact. And if any noises come to your ears, that's fine, because it's the very purpose of this practice to train your mind to remain open to all the sensations and emotions that comes without any preference. To focus is to remember the value of what we are doing now, to remind you of the essential values of yin. Do not abandon your intentions to the first sign of doubt, difficulties, or distractions. You can recite a few inspiring words or phrases before you begin to capture your involvement in this practice, despite certain circumstances that could cause us to deviate. For example, you can tell to your mind, I now vow to open my conscience for the benefit of all. I appreciate this immeasurable value, whatever the circumstances. By the way, when we seal our commitment, we realize that this practice is good not only for us, but for all living beings. Every time we live with this consciousness, we relax our attachment, our tensions. You can tell you, it's my choice, my freedom not to be distracted. This practice makes me less weak, less apathetic. This consciousness reminds me that the goals to be achieved are not in the future. Future is hypothetical. But in the here and now, in my personal experience. Whatever the conditions and circumstances, that is the most important sentence of my intention by Sankalpa. It cancels all excuses, complaints, and distractions. Perhaps I will have to deal with dramatic situations in my personal life, but I can also invite them in my personal experience here and now. With this intention in mind, I can take refuge in my full consciousness of being, at the place where I always feel good in myself, as if I will be at home in my body-mind all the time, at all time, through all the changes of my life. Then, when you are centered, then you can anchor. This is the art of the practice. It's a time to anchor yourself in your breath and to open in your consciousness some gaps that will allow your sensation, your emotions, and your states of mind to arise. The goal of this concentration, regardless of the posture, is to be relaxed and fully vigilant at the same time. As one is easily distracted, this simple practice of resting in one's attention is a rather singular anchor, because we are not trying to anchor. Pure observation is intended at the essential foundation of any mindfulness meditation practice, and especially in yin class. Concentration is enhanced by attention to the breath. We call it anapanasati. It's not pranayama, no. Pranayama is different. Pranayama is the control of the breath. And anapanasati is just being attentive to what's going on inside you when you breathe naturally. Watching each cycle as you relax from your habits to always comment, criticize what you do or have done. As you observe your breath with intimacy, I will say, you will see clearly your automatic habits of ordinary life, those that often takes you away from the vague consciousness that you are breathing. When you start paying attention to distractions and letting go of things that distract you, you've taken a big step, let me tell you. You realize that you are very absorbed in observing the inspiration, expiration cycles, and suddenly you've gone somewhere else. You revisit your experiences from the near or the far past, or we compulsively comment on our present. We see that suddenly we are no longer now in contact with the present, but we have left in a space-time that no longer exists or not exist at all. We are often attracted out of our full consciousness by our impulses, compulsions, the conditioning of our culture or our education. Our whole body is governed by patterns, by our ways of behaving, most of the time totally unconscious reaction. This mindfulness practice allows us to witness this pattern in a form of clear vision, without any judgment and without expecting anything. With training, those moments when our mind lives and rumbles will be less and less frequent and disturbing. It will also lose its power of seduction, because our mind will find it pleasant to be relaxed from this heavy tendency to obsessive thoughts and this incessant and useless noises in our head. It's paradoxical, but to get out of these patterns of incessant and sterile thoughts, it's necessary to use thoughts itself. Let me explain. By 4 tools I'm going to give you now. You can train your mind by thinking about counting. Maybe you can do 1 for your first inspiration, 2 for exhalation, 3 for the next one, 4 for the next one. And arrive at 10, you stop and observe what is happening. If you're distracted, then go back to 1. We know that this tool worked very well. And when we realize that we no longer need to count without being distracted, then keep your mind on your breathing. Another tool now to stay connected to your consciousness is to think about the presence of being. You may have listened to my voice during the yin class when we used to see us saying, when I breathe in, I know I breathe in. When I breathe out, I know I'm breathing out. You can recite this in your head, saying maybe, by inspiring, I am right here. By exhaling, I let go all resistance. And you do that repeatedly. And you stop. Then you observe the echo in you until you no longer need it and you're totally absorbed by your breath. There is another tool, the third one, about how to think about love. Inhaling, you may say, may I be at peace. Exhaling, may I be at peace. Inhaling, may all be at peace. And etc. Repeating in, may I be at peace. May all be at peace. And the silence of your mental space, in the silence, you will listen the echo of this intention, of these wishes, this sankalpa. By studying your breathing, you will experience intimately what is pleasant and also what is neutral and what is unpleasant. This is the fourth tool, the pure observation of each breath cycle. You will maybe just see the beginning of your inhale, the middle, and the end. You can listening the quality of your breath, and you may feel in your mental space, in your mind. That's why it is paradoxical, because we are training not to think by thinking. Maybe you inhale and you feel so good with your lungs full of air, full of energy. But after a while, when you're full of air and you need maybe to breathe out, then you may feel unpleasant at this moment, at the middle, at the end, and you want to exhale again. And when you're gonna exhaling again, you feel again the sensation of the pleasure. After the pleasure to in, the anxiety of constriction, apnea, again the pleasure of let go and to be exhaling deeply. So you can observe the natural fluctuation of pleasure, displeasure, whose principle applies to all our experience in life. Of course, you don't need to use those 4 tools in the same yin session. You can try to do one and then another one another day, or maybe 2 of them, or in whatever order you want, and you can choose it depending of your state of mind or feel follow your intuition, I want to say. And when you feel comfortable with one, two, three, four, or another tool you can invent it, then keep it. Now the second stage of the yin class is labeling. This technique consists of always being determined and very determined to observe the breath while life unfolds naturally. You will follow and qualify all the micro changes that will appear, always returning to your breath. It's about observing and qualifying the manifestations that come and go while you feel fully breathing. It comes and goes. You can follow and qualify the emotions and the sensations that comes and go as you anchor yourself. You can even do it in a noisy place, and do this back and forth exercise to the sounds where you are sitting and where you are doing this encourage exercise, and always go back to your breath, even in a noisy place. Actually, it is the most difficult but also the most powerful technique. Because when you are attentive to changes in emotions or in your state of mind while you breath, if you are able to choose I call it mot valise word, a word suitcase. It's a word to put something in, many things in, and then you just have the suitcase, le mot valise, which summarizes in itself all the sensation, all the thoughts, all the emotion that would help you to identify what is distracting you. Once you have successfully labeled every area of your experience, then you can just name this and you will put it in your suitcase label. Imagine, even if it's not a pleasant emotion or sensation, find a word for it. Let's say judging, suspicious, anxious, waiting, planning, worried, nervous, bored, distracted. Just whispering this word into your mind from what characterizes your tendency to the state of dispersion in which you are, and it will immediately lead you to return to your breath. This is what I wanted to say to you today about what is to let go. Training in these anchoring, centering, and labeling techniques leads you to succeed in keeping yourself in the state of living attention characteristic, of an attitude of acceptance and let go. In the practice of mindfulness, you will temporarily suspend your tendency to name and censor what is happening to you. You will really understand what be mindful means. For me, it means yes. Say yes to each and every of your experiences that are happening to you. Allow to all things that are happening to you to enter in and to go out of the scope of your attention. And when you create an attitude of tolerance, You will stop your old habits of qualifying in your head all the things that are happening to you. For example, during a yin pose, you will stop thinking that you would like this tight hips to be so painful, and you will no longer think about these hips in those terms. I would like my hips to be different. You will be quiet. You will let go of the very fact of resisting to what is, the pain, the tensions. Let me tell you a story. Imagine that you are a tree in the forest without any particular reaction to the presence of a rather dry or wet soil, to a nest clinging in his branches, or to an insect tickling that climps along his trunks. You will really going to experience acceptance and letting go in an impartial way. This is the best I can wish you for your next yin class. Tomorrow I will send you the video about a new yin class to share together. Lots of love. See you.